The Final Fantasy Wiki Podcast is brought to you by the new video game shared universe film franchise that will take the world by storm. With video games, the new hot item in Hollywood, we have a lineup that will blow you away. A24 are proud to announce Dizzy the Movie, starring James Corden, followed by Gex the Movie, starring Bad Bunny. Then the Great Gianna Sisters, the movie, starring Kylie and Kendall Jenner. Then Bubsy the Movie, starring Pete Davidson. And last but far from least, Knack the Movie, starring Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. These icons of video game franchises will team up in our shared universe crossover film, The Meme Vengers the Movie, where they will face their greatest foe yet, the Cheetah Men. Coming April 2028. Written by AI. And then we'll do the
Did AI seriously write that?
No. I wrote that.
Good, because because that's terrifying.
Terrifying. All right, you seem to have been defeated by, I think, Pete Davidson, specifically.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, it got worse from there.
Okay.
Fucking The Rock is Knack, man.
Okay, so of those video game franchises I referenced, which one of those did you actually know?
Knack was the one I knew.
You knew Knack? Okay, all right. Now, just so that everyone's aware,
way over my head.
To explain the joke, Dizzy is a 1980s English platform puzzle game about an egg. Gex is actually a Square Enix franchise. It's about a lizard man that does, I think he does spy things. He was played by one of the two guys in Wayne's World. Bubsy is Bubsy the Bobcat, who might actually be the worst of all of these. Bubsy 3D is the worst platforming game maybe ever made. And the Great Gianna Sisters is a ripoff of Super Mario Brothers that was released on the Amiga and various English computer things.
I vaguely remember hearing about Bubsy, actually.
Bubsy actually got a new game recently.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, and actually, Gex, I think just got, I think Uematsu just did art. No, Amano did art for Gex. Because Square Enix
I've vaguely heard of that one, actually. Oh yeah, Bubsy Paws on Fire 2019.
Yes, all right. So the Gex trilogy is going to be released, and Amano made art for Gex. This is a real thing. Limited Run Games is producing this. You can play all 3 of the Gex games, and there's Yoshitaka Amano artwork for fucking Gex. Just unbelievable.
Limited Run Games is really cool.
They are cool, but that's like, I don't know, getting like Leonardo da Vinci to do fucking chameleon twist art. Like it's you're getting the best of the best to create absolute trash. Oh, and the Cheetah Men. The Cheetah Men are maybe the best story of them all. They were a rip-off, unofficial Nintendo game that came out on Action 52. But they did have their own game, an original Cheetah Men game that you can get, but it was never fully released. So it is glitched to all hell. Like, you can jump up into the sky and fall through and then go to another level. Has a fantastic theme song. I would look up the Cheetah Men theme if you have time.
Okay, the Cheetah Men.
The Cheetah Men, yes, the Cheetah Men theme. Yes. There are a lot of remixes of the Cheetah Men theme, and it slaps. It's actually legitimately good. So, this is the Final Fantasy Wiki Podcast, everybody. That we usually open on complete nonsense, and this was one of my more nonsensical diversions. My name is BlueHighwind. I am a kind of fungus that you find on your lower heel and should definitely go to the doctor about. My co-star for this evening is Technobliterator. He is he's a creature that lives in a sewer and kidnaps children every 27 years.
I'm not.
You're not?
But I'm not that.
Okay.
But there are some conspiracy theories out there.
There are conspiracy theories. Not joining us tonight is Some Color Mage, who the color of not being here is what that color is. Turns out.
Yep.
Yeah.
The invisible color.
The invisible color, yes. He's here in spirit, though. Anyway, so we should do... this is a podcast about the Final Fantasy Wiki and various Final Fantasy, and I guess Wiki-related topics, because we will be getting to that. Fandom had one heck of a month, and we definitely need to talk about the big news in Fandom. But let me go through all the news I have for the month of May. So I think we may even start with that. No. We will start with Cyber Group Studios, which was the company that was going to be making that Final Fantasy IX animated series that we talked about a couple months ago, because the various design documents did leak. That group has been liquidated. The court in Paris has ordered that they will need to settle up with their creditors, and the various pieces are being sold off, so you could say rest in peace to that project.
It already probably wasn't happening, but now it's like 2,000% not happening.
Yes. The story of Vivi's children will not be told. All right, so...
Yeah, it's a shame. It could have been interesting.
I think it was interesting. It is something, maybe much like Fortress, the Grin Final Fantasy XII sequel that never happened. It will live on forever in its perfect form in our hearts. Anyway, I teased you with the Fandom news, so let's get into it. Fandom and GiantBomb. So a few years ago, Fandom bought GameSpot, and with buying GameSpot, they also got GiantBomb, which was one of my favorite video game podcasts and websites. It was a video game media company made up of a lot of people who actually spun off from GameSpot originally, and then somehow ended up owned by them. The saga of GiantBomb is long and complicated. Fandom was actually their third owner in about 5 years, going from CBS Interactive to some scammy website called Red Ventures to then finally the scammy website that we effectively, I guess we're both former employees of, technically. Fandom.com.
In a sense, yeah.
Yes. They have been running GiantBomb with limited success for the last, I think, 2-3 years. The founder of GiantBomb, Jeff Gersman, left and started his own podcast that I have been following, and I recommend listening to him. So GiantBomb had what was basically like they basically walked out after they got an order from their on-high people to mostly focus on guides and have a lot less adult material in their work, which is just kind of their house style, has always just been to curse and, be real about things. And there was about a week where everyone was really, really angry at Fandom, and I was hearing a lot of accusations about how, we hate how it fills up our search engine, and, the websites don't load particularly well, and it's full of scammy, ad crap, so you should use ad blocker and whatever. But that story did have a good ending, which is that the people that are GiantBomb, all 4 employees that are still left, including Dan Reichert, the internet's beloved Dan Reichert, who got married at a Taco Bell, he now owns the website. They bought themselves basically from Fandom, and they're now independent and have been going happily for a month now. So
yeah, fair play to them. Good for them.
Yeah, so fully, this kind of story usually ends with the corporate overlords being complete dicks and choosing that, if the brand can't make us money immediately, we're just going to burn it down and we'll keep the merchandising rights, but you guys don't get to keep it. There's a million video game websites that are now like the recreations of the websites that used to be, like remap.com, which used to be Waypoint, Nextlander, which is a whole bunch of Kotaku people. Actually, no. Nextlander is former GiantBomb people. Aftermath is former Kotaku people. I got to keep all this crap in my head. We don't know what's going to replace Polygon, because Polygon also died last month. What a month in the video game industry. But Fandom did the right thing. From all sides seemed to be that they went and stepped up and decided not to take the bad press of killing a beloved video game website. You never did anything with GiantBomb. You don't know of any idea what I'm talking about, right, Techno?
No, I'm afraid not.
Okay.
Like, most of the time, if I know about any kind of video game publication, video game outlet, some kind of like, any kind of games journalism, honestly, for the most part, I come across it when I'm working on the wiki. Like, when I'm trying to find a source for something, when I'm trying to find like a citation or something like that. That's most of the time when I ever really come across a lot of games journalism, right? And if I didn't do that, I probably wouldn't come across much of any at all, which is why I can see why a lot of these companies are really struggling.
Yeah.
Gone are the days where you would just buy a magazine in the store and that was how you discover all the games that would come out.
Well,
just
you say that.
Magazines.
You say that, but Game Informer magazine actually came back to life a few months ago, and I think is still running, now independently owned.
Oh, it is?
Yeah. I have not been to a magazine rack in I don't know how long, so I haven't had the chance to open it up and actually get any Game Informer stuff. But yeah, God bless them that they are running and physical media still lives. The Onion, the parody newspaper magazine, they're also back to publishing physically and seem to be doing well that way. Weirdly enough, the future of media seems to be the past of media. Internet media will just die, and then everything will just have to go back and be physically published. And as for all the idiots like yours truly who tried to make a career in internet publishing and writing, everything that we ever wrote will never matter to anything, and no one will ever read any of it.
Yep.
I don't even know if the stuff I wrote for Fandom as part of their like wiki, like their attempt to be like a publication, I don't know if that stuff even still lives anymore. I should.
I think it still exists. I think you can still find it, but they're not making any new stuff.
Yeah, let me see. I will find out. What? God, I didn't write anything particularly great, so I'll just see if any of my things still exist. I wrote a Metal Gear Solid piece. Let me see if that's still here. Metal Gear Solid 5. I wrote about Quiet. And yes, it does still live. This is still findable if you Google it. And more importantly, it exists, but also I was able to find it with Google's crappy search engine. So I guess the internet infrastructure is still limping along well enough. Anyway, Fandom did the right thing for once. I can't complain too much about that. Final Fantasy VII Intergrade. There is a trailer that Nintendo of America released. That came out on May 6th. That will be releasing on the 2 Switch. Techno, are you going to be getting the Switch 2?
Honestly, I don't know at this point. Like, I'm not getting it on release. I can tell you that.
Neither am I.
I'm not getting it on release. It's just too expensive with all when you add up, how much every game costs. Right. I love the idea of the Switch too. Like, I really do, but when I think back on it, I don't know if I got that much use out of my Switch 1. Like, I don't know if I got enough use out of it to justify getting the Switch 2.
Well, if you haven't played the Switch 1 very much, I don't think I would recommend you buy the Switch 2 because...
No, I didn't play it much.
If it's
the
anything
games
like...
I played on it were all the Nintendo games.
Yeah, if it's anything like the PlayStation 5 versus PlayStation 4, it will be like the previous thing, but slightly worse and with fewer games and more expensive games.
Yeah, I mean that's the other thing, isn't it? Like, games are taking a lot longer to make now, and there's fewer of those games being made, but the console lifespan is staying the exact same, right? Eventually, something's gonna have to give. We're gonna have consoles with a longer lifespan. Although the Switch absolutely 100% needed an update. Don't get me wrong. Like, I'm not saying this, we should have left the Switch to stay for a little bit longer because it could barely cope with PS4 games, let alone this new generation. But definitely for the PlayStation, for the Xbox world, like, if they start bringing out a PS6 before long, I'm just gonna be like, I'm gonna be livid because, there's been some great games on the PS5. There hasn't been that many of them. It barely feels like the generation's even started, and that's because so few games come out now.
Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes I wonder people who say that also, like, all of us gamers, like the core gamer audience, are all in our 30s and our 40s, and that's just how time feels. Time just doesn't move anymore because every year is exactly the same.
I mean, that's part of it. But when you think about, PlayStation 2, right? If I think about the developers I follow, so I got 2 Metal Gear Solids, I got 2 main Final Fantasies,
Hey,
and
you got 3 Metal Gear Solids.
There's a third one?
Yeah, didn't Twin Snakes come out as well, or was that a GameCube?
Oh yeah, GameCube. Yeah. Right. So I got two Metal Gear Solids, PlayStation 2. I got 2 main Final Fantasies, right? I got 4 Jack and Daxters. I got 4 Ratchet and Clanks. I got 3 Slies. I got 2 Gran Turismos, right?
2.5 Kingdom Hearts.
2.5 Kingdom Hearts. A lot of games came out in a fairly short space of time for the PS2. The PS3, what I get? Okay, so I got
no Kingdom Hearts.
I got no Kingdom Hearts. I got 1 Final Fantasy and 2 spin-offs, right? Metal Gear Solid 5 didn't release for PS3 at all.
Wait, didn't it?
It was just PS4.
Wait, didn't Metal Gear Solid 3 come out on PlayStation 3? Or was it only Ground Zeroes that came out?
I don't know if even Ground Zeroes came out on PS4.
No, Ground Zeroes definitely came out on PlayStation 3. I played it on PlayStation 3. I remember that.
Okay, so I got 1.5 Metal Gear Solid.
Okay, all right. Metal Gear Solid 5 actually did come out on PlayStation 3. I'm looking at the box art right here.
Wow. Okay. So I got...
The Fox engine was extremely impressive. That was an extremely impressive engine. How many systems they were able to release that game on.
Yeah. Well, I'm still going to count that as only half a PlayStation game. Metal Gear Solid game.
I would count 1, honestly, because I wouldn't count. Ground Zeroes is a demo. It's really only Metal Gear Solid 4 and Metal Gear Solid Rising. Okay, 2.
Yeah. Metal Gear. Yeah, okay. All right, so I got 1.5 Metal Gears on PS3. Fair enough, right? But I only got 2 main Ratchet and Clanks and a bunch of spin-offs. I got no Jack and Daxter. If you want to count what Naughty Dog did, I got 3 Uncharted's and The Last of Us. So, okay, Naughty Dog so far, same pace.
Wait, 3 Uncharted's on PlayStation? Oh, yeah, that was a PlayStation 3. For some reason, I thought Uncharted 1 was PlayStation 2, but it's not.
No.
It just feels very
and
PlayStation 2.
I got no Sly. They instead made Infamous, but there were only 2 Infamous games, right? Now we jump to the PS4. I get 1 Ratchet and Clank. I get 2 Final Fantasies. Okay, fine. Final Fantasy's picking up the pace again, right?
No,
but I only get 1 Metal Gear Solid.
A lot of Final Fantasy games came out on PlayStation 4. You're forgetting World of Final Fantasy. You're forgetting Final Fantasy Type 0.
I'm talking about mainline ones.
Okay, all right.
Mainline ones. There's a bunch of spin-offs that come out on PS4.
So 15 and wait, wasn't it only 15 on PlayStation 4?
There's 15 and 7 remake. The first 7 remake.
Are you counting 7 remake as mainline though?
I guess so.
I guess it is. Yeah,
I
you
guess
do. I
so.
guess you do have to count that as mainline.
Yeah. So I get that.
What does
I
our
get
wiki
only
do,
one Ratchet
actually?
and Clank, but Insomniac do make Spider-Man, so I get 2 Insomniac games, right? I get how many Naughty Dog games? All right, I only get 2, right? Uncharted 4 and The Last of Us. The Last of Us 2, right? So, and then I only get 1 game from the Sly people, which was Ghost of Tsushima, right? So the developers I follow, they're slowing down in terms of the number of games they're making per console, right? And in the PS5 day, they're on course for like pretty much the same amount.
All right, Techno.
So,
Techno. In main series, according to FinalFantasy.fandom.com, our infographic, main series goes up to 17, does not include 7 Remake or Integrate or Rebirth. That is down in the Final Fantasy VII Remake project within Final Fantasy VII series.
right. So if we're counting mainline Final Fantasies, you know, if we're being a bit less generous, I only got 1 Final Fantasy on the PS4. I only got 1 on the PS5.
Well, you got the remakes of 10, and you got a World of Final Fantasy, and Final Fantasy Dissidia NT. You know, everyone. I played the demo of it, and it's fucking horrendous. What the hell were they thinking?
I've not heard great things about that one. It was
quite terrible.
Probably a decent idea, but
no, it was a bad idea to begin with. It's a 3-on-3 fighting game, and that's the only way to play it.
Yeah, calling it a decent idea was the best compliment I guess I could give it.
Yeah.
But oh well. So yeah, so in short, at least for the games I follow, you know, I'm getting fewer games per generation, right? The only one that's the same number of games per generation I'm still getting is like the FIFA games, which no shit. Right, obviously, you know, those are going to be released once a year regardless.
So, they're not even called FIFA anymore. Now they're called EA Sports
FC.
Club or something.
EA Sports FC, yeah.
Okay.
So it's a pretty shit name. But
I hear the latest one actually didn't sell terribly well for that reason, that the name's not good.
Yeah, the name's crap. But no, I mean, at least how I'm looking at it, like, it's because games are taking longer to make, and we're getting fewer games. So, you know, I'm not saying like we're cooked or anything like that, right? I'm not saying anything like extreme, but I am saying that clearly, you know, there's, at least to me, it's really disappointing if I have to buy a console again every 6 years, only to get like very few new games from it. Like, I can't really enjoy the console that much, you know. And by the way, the only real new IP that came from this generation that made a massive impact was Astrobot, and that was brilliant. Like, I love Astrobot, but
hey, maybe Expedition 33 is going to be the new IP that everyone will go crazy about.
Yeah, I've heard really good things about that game.
I will actually buy that game probably tomorrow. I will
I've
report back on it in our June episode, because I think we're overdue. There is discourse around Expedition 33, specifically with Final Fantasy, but we'll get to that. Okay, Techno, this is off topic even to the... I'm not even sure what topic we were on to begin with. Who is the narrator for Dissidia NT? Who plays the narrator?
Oh God, who does play the narrator? And I'm not allowed to look it up.
No, you'll never guess, because I would never guess either. But
someone random like Troy Baker.
Good guess. No, Veronica Taylor, who is the original voice actor of Ash Ketchum.
Really?
Yes.
Veronica Taylor.
Yes. So Ash Ketchum is out there playing. Weird fact.
That is a
Anyway,
fun fact.
she played Cosmos in Dissidia 012, in fact, and Dissidia regular.
Yeah, that's what it says here. Cosmos.
Oh, so that's why
Dissidia
she's the
12,
narrator.
Dissidia.
There you go. Okay.
Right. Makes sense.
Well, she also played Ash's mother, Delia. I'm learning many things about Veronica Taylor. So anyway, next week the the Switch 2 will be releasing, I believe. I saw a billboard, but don't have the exact date. When is the Switch 2 release date coming? And I am happy to report that Nintendo so heavily supports this podcast, they've sent us a review copy. And that's what we'll be talking about this month. Did you get your review copy, Techno?
No, I did not.
I didn't get my review copy either. I made that up. I'm lying. They're not sending us shit. I did not ask for one either, because I knew they would.
Maybe we should have asked for one.
I guess it couldn't have hurt to ask. That's what my dad says a lot. It does not hurt to ask. And I would say
definitely get press kits though.
I would say that in fact it could be extremely painful to ask. Sometimes asking is the hardest thing that anyone's ever done. So let's move on to where we were, which is that GiantBomb lives. Oh, yes. Actually, I wish that Some Car Mage had been here because we have a lot of Kingdom Hearts to talk about. So Kingdom Hearts Missing Link, the Kingdom Hearts take on Pokemon Go, has been canceled. This game was announced many years ago, had an open alpha at one point. I think that was like a year ago, and it was completely shut down. So here's the development team announcement. We wish to convey our heartfelt apologies to everyone who has been looking forward to the start of service. Although we worked hard on developing and adjusting the game in the hope that it would be enjoyed by lots of players, we determined that it would be difficult for us to offer a service that players would find satisfactory over a long period of time, leading us to the decision to cancel development. We'd like to take this opportunity to express our thanks to everybody who gave us their support and assistance with multiple closed beta tests. We are truly sorry to have to make this announcement. The Kingdom Hearts series will continue. We are hard at work on Kingdom Hearts IV and hope you'll continue to support the series as you keep an eye out for further updates. Kingdom Hearts IV is Roman for Kingdom Hearts 4, and Square Enix, in a bit of damage control, released some screenshots of Kingdom Hearts 4. You can see Sora riding some chains in Shibuya, and there are Heartless on the ground, and what looked like Seath in the background. Remember the Seath from Final Fantasy 13 2? In Academia specifically, they kind of look like those guys. There's a phone, a rotary phone. Mickey Mouse standing on a chandelier in a library. And Sora looking far too HD. I really hope he only looks like that for this Tokyo world and goes back to looking like his cartoony self afterwards. Also, the fact that they released this screenshot in a bit of damage control, suddenness, I would imagine that we are not going to be seeing much in the way of Kingdom Hearts at Summer's Game Fest, which will also be in the coming weeks.
Yeah, I'd be very shocked if we did. But no, I mean the screenshots, at least to me, what I saw of them, didn't reveal that much.
No. We don't see much more than we saw in the teaser trailer from like 3 years ago.
Yeah, we didn't really learn a whole lot. I mean, the graphics look good.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's funny that there's a possibility we get all 3 parts of the 7 Remake series before we get Kingdom Hearts 4.
That is deeply upsetting to me, and I don't want you to talk that way.
Okay. I won't bring up that possibility again then.
Okay. But by the way, Square Enix is an official partner of the Summer Games Fest, so they'll have something to show, one assumes, but who knows?
There's going to be a lot. I mean, the crazy 4chan rumors that are all spouting already, and I don't believe any of them because they've very occasionally you'll get that one 4chan post that got everything absolutely right. But the majority of them are absolute crap. Don't trust that website. It's awful.
What are the rumors?
Oh, there was one rumor, and I saw it reposted to Reddit that was saying like, okay, so it's gonna be Final Fantasy IX remake. It's gonna be
that has
the
been
Final
rumored.
Fantasy 13. Yeah, it's gonna be the Final Fantasy 13 series is in a remaster. It's gonna be the Final Fantasy Tactics. What's that?
I could see them do 13 remaster. That's something relatively cheap.
I can see it.
I think it's been long enough now that all the bad feelings around those games have simmered down, and I think there's the people that really love those games would be very happy to pay for them again on their newest machines.
Yeah, I could see it. Let me bring up what all the other lists of rumors were.
I mean, Final Fantasy IX, Square Enix has a 25th anniversary website going right now, and they have been... This was a news report I was going to share later, but they've been sharing new artwork by Toshiyuki Itahana.
I still think that one is happening.
Yeah, the fact that they have all this stuff, and even some VV mugs that you can buy, looks like. Noisy Picture was reporting it, not announcing it. So you can go see a Steiner, a Vivi, a Zidane, and a Garnet. And
right. I like
a Vivi mug. I would do that.
It.
You can drink your coffee out of Vivi's head. How much is the Vivi mug?
I can definitely believe it for sure. But it was those two. Then it was like, Final Fantasy VII remake. It's going to be called Final Fantasy VII Revelations, is what they said. Right.
Okay.
Which I'm still going to call it Revengeance.
I'm going to call it Reloaded.
Or that. And then, it was just like a long wish list of things that seem, I don't know, at least to me, seem a bit... taken on their own, any one of them individually, I could definitely see happening and would be believable. But when you add all of them in one Summer Games Fest, that's when I kind of think, I don't know about that.
The VV mug costs about $24, not counting import taxes and our liberation tariffs that are so wonderful, and who the fuck knows what's going on. Considering the government seems to randomly change its mind every few minutes, almost like somebody who has no idea what they were doing is in charge of everything. But I guess if I'm ever in Japan, I will get myself some VV merch. I don't. You know what? Should I just buy this VV mug? Would this make my life happy if I own this? I'm gonna say no. No, I don't want the VV mug. I say that because I have a Miss Cloud statuette that has fallen over, and I've not bothered to even put her back up where she belongs.
Oh, is that one of the official ones?
It is one of the official ones. Actually, the stand that she is on, I need to file down because she just sort of leans over, and yeah. That was money well spent. Yeah, my room's just a gigantic mess, so I don't know. That's another issue altogether. We were talking about Kingdom Hearts 4.
Yeah,
so we're up to that, and so we've covered our Final Fantasy IX news, so that's one thing.
Yeah, so it could definitely happen.
Oh yes, the next news. Let's talk about Square Enix is building an original game with a surprising partner. VideoGamesChronicle.com reports. And this is going to be TBS, which is not the Characters Welcome network here in the United States. No, it is TBS Television, the Tokyo-based network, best known for such things as Ninja Warrior, Ultraman, and Takeshi's Castle. We have no idea what this is going to be, other than that they are announcing it, and Square Enix is currently in the middle of a 3-year reboot plan, which will end in March 2027, and part of their reboot plan to focus on more important things will be making some sort of a game with TBS Television Japan. Yep. I have nothing to add on that other than that is something that is happening.
No, I have nothing else to add.
Yeah. Here's a news report that came out a couple weeks ago. So, Square Enix apparently considered ending service for Final Fantasy XI altogether in 2024. This was announced... Well, this is actually confirmed by producer and director Yoji Fujito. But player interest was strong enough to keep the thing going. So, even after surviving and limping along for now 20 years, and I think the last 10 have basically had not many major additions. I'm not sure what the newest, full expansion for that game was. Feels like it was a long time ago now. Final Fantasy XI will continue to go and exist.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm kind of I guess surprised in a way. I'm surprised that it's been kept alive for this long, but also I'm happy for the people that still play it, because we have one or two people on the wiki community that did play it, and they seem to really, really love that game. So fair play to them if they're keeping it alive. Good game by the sounds of it.
Yeah. I forgot to mention this, but it's not terribly important. But Bravely Default Flying Fairy HD will be a launch game for the Switch 2 next week. We've already covered that to death. Very good video game. If you have not played it, this is probably a good time to play it on your Switch 2. Or even your 2DS, 3DS, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, it's fairly random, but yeah, good game.
All right, so we have done the Final Fantasy XI news then, so we can move past that one. Okay, so Eurogamer.com was announcing how Square Enix is currently in the middle of a quiet year. As I mentioned, they're doing their 3-year-long sort of reboot, refocus, canceling a whole bunch of things strategy. And hopefully by March of next year, we will be fully back to wherever they want to be. But because of that, they had a drop of sales in 2025's fiscal year versus 2024, which I think makes all the sense in the world, considering they really have not announced, they haven't released anything that much this year. Other than the remake of Bravely Default and Dragon Quest 1+2 remake, which will be coming out sometime in the fall, apparently, they don't really have much on the slate.
No, it doesn't look like it.
Magic the Gathering, the cards, will be coming out next month. A lot of those cards were already released, and people had a lot to say about them. I cannot speak intelligently on any level about Magic the Gathering. Literally cannot do it.
Nor can I, but the main kind of story from that was that they revealed the new Sephiroth design in it.
Oh, show me new Sephiroth design.
Yeah, the Safer Sephiroth design in the Magic the Gathering cards. Let me look that up for you.
Okay, I will also look that up because I need to see Safer Sephiroth.
Yeah, it's basically they revealed something in it on accident in the Safer Sephiroth card, right? And then Nomura had to come out and say, "Oh yeah, so we changed this on purpose, and you'll just have to find out why," which is
I think I see it. It's Sephiroth One-Winged Angel card.
Yeah, that's the one.
Okay.
Sephiroth One-Winged Angel card.
He's got both arms now instead of his right arm turning into a wing. Is that the big change?
Yeah, so Nomura says, here's the quote. Nomura says that he specifically designed the art to match it up vertically. If you manage to get two of the same card and line them up, you'll see how the original illustration looked. However, Nomura also commented that one of the halves may seem different to eagle-eyed Final Fantasy VII fans. There is a reason that the design of Safer Sephiroth is different from the original game, but unfortunately I can't share more about that.
Okay.
That's what he said.
I'm not sure
Which
what...
I mean...
Oh, I see. All right, so the Safer Sephiroth card lines up with the Sephiroth card, who... My dude's got some big arms. Let me... I'm trying to find... Oh, God damn it, Google. It's like... It's incredibly tiny. I just want to see the image, please. Okay, I see. Alright, so there is Sephiroth at the bottom. Big fella. And then in the middle, there is a... what looks like a Bizarro Sephiroth. And then up top, there is a Safer Sephiroth with both arms. I'm 90% sure the original Safer Sephiroth only had one arm. Yes, he only had one arm. Of course he did. I'm not crazy. You're crazy. Alright, so that I guess that's the big change, is that he's going to have both arms. I don't know.
He's going to have one arm and he's going to have... You know, his wing looks a little bit different.
What is this? Oh, he may actually have a knee. He might be naked under those clouds. Thank you, eagle-eyed Redditor, who pointed this out, that he does appear to have a knee. And he's kind of like... He's like doing the Dracula seat, but the clouds are his you know, his throne.
Yeah.
And he does not appear to be wearing any clothing. So the clouds are also not only his throne, but also his, you know, like the leaf that covers up your junk in classical art. Or in boulderized ecchi anime, they'll have clouds covering things up. Maybe in the full game you'll be able to see everything. That'll be their way to really make people have to buy Final Fantasy VII Revealed. That's what the third game's going to be called.
Well, like I said, if that... Assuming... I mean, I still think the vast majority of those that come out are complete bullshit, those 4chan rumors. But if we're to believe that, it's called Final Fantasy VII Revelations.
Mm-hmm. And the Revelations are Sephiroth's junk.
Yep. I'm good.
You're good?
I'm good on that name.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay. Subtitled, we mean Sephiroth's junk. We're all agreed on that. Oh, another thing.
No.
I kind of missed this, but I'm just mentioning here. Insider Gaming, it looks like Yuji Horii, not Hora, Horii, might have mentioned, I don't know, it could have been the translator making a mistake, may have let slip that there's going to be a Chrono Trigger remake. Might have been. We've not heard anything else on this front, but apparently the translator went and said, "Are you sure about that?" And Horii responded, "You have heard nothing."
Okay.
So, I don't know. We'll see if that ever happens. That could be an easy one, you know. Do a Chrono Trigger remake in the Octopath Traveler style. And we must end our news segment on a bit of sad news. Yesterday, War of the Visions, Final Fantasy Brave Exvius was shut down internationally. I believe it's still playable in Japan. And as of May 30th, 2025, you cannot play that video game. It is over.
I think I already spoke on that last podcast, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But, yeah, I mean, I'm sad to the people that played it, but I just completely understand why that game shut down.
Yeah, I am checking our Discord to see if we have any Final Fantasy 14 news.
If we do, I won't be able to speak on it.
I will not be able to speak on that either. I know 7.2, that patch released at some point. We really need our Final Fantasy 14 correspondent here. It's the only person that could go and speak intelligently to this. I know there was Robot Beatrix. We already talked about that. Apparently hentai hair is available now. If you want hentai protagonist hair. I had to ask what the hell this was in reference to, which just, I kind of think says my age. If you apparently have very bushy hair that covers up your eyes, like a crazy bowl cut, that's apparently hentai protagonist hair. That's what the kids are into these days. I don't know. Whoever notices what the hell a hentai protagonist looks like, it's not the girl. So, whatever. That, I think, is everything, right? Is that all the news you got?
I think. I mean, I can't think of anything else offhand. Like, I hope even one of those things is true.
About the hentai protagonist here?
No. In the fucking Summer Games Fest rumors.
Yeah.
Oh, have we covered the Final Fantasy IX 25th anniversary stuff?
Yeah, we talked about how Ishitaku, whatever their name is, they have new art. And this is heavily rumored.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, not much more to say on that then. I've been saying for the longest time, I think that remake is real. And I hope I'm proven right at Summer Games Fest. I might be, I might not.
Here's some news. 250 million bees have escaped an overturned truck in the United States. Looks like in the state of Washington, a truck fell over and 250 million bees escaped. So
crazy.
Yeah, if you're in Washington, look out for 250 million bees. They will be hard to miss once they're attacking you.
Crazy.
Yeah. So, Final Fantasy, let's admit it, we're both in our 30s, right?
No, not yet.
Yeah, I'll round you up. You're in your 30s. Welcome. You now have back pain, and when you get up out of bed too quickly, you will feel slightly dizzy. Congratulations.
Great.
Yep. So, now that we're in our 30s, and you were like one of the younger people on the wiki too. You're like second generation wikier, basically. Yeah. So, let's face it, Final Fantasy is getting a little long in the tooth. I don't think the youths are all that into Final Fantasy anymore. Would you agree on this? Do you know any youths?
Well, I do have like anecdotes to share.
Okay.
But I think like definitely around the time I was coming up, Final Fantasy was well known as like a video game franchise a lot of people knew about and like respected. A lot of people came away like with respect for Final Fantasy VII, whether or not they'd played it, or like they'd respect Final Fantasy X, but they wouldn't have played it. Like it was well known as like that was a brilliant video game from back in the day. Right, at least that was when I was coming up. And these days, increasingly, I think it's safe to say that's no longer really the case. Like people don't, these new gamers coming up, right? And I'm not trying to sound like an odd man when I say gamers today, but like that doesn't tend to be the way people look at video games these days. Like they don't look at like, oh, that brilliant game from XYZ was like, revolutionary kind of thing. It's not seen as like something you need to go back and play. Most people these days, they tend to be all like, they've come through gaming through like FIFA or Fortnite or what's the American version, Madden, or NBA 2K, like, or Call of Duty.
Yeah, like I whatever Roblox is, the kids are playing.
That one, Roblox, Minecraft.
Yeah. So I was thinking, like, since I think we can both agree that it's lost some cultural relevance, but I guess it never really had, because it was always a video game franchise. It was never like people outside of video games knew what it was. But
yes,
I was in the mall the other day, And I was walking around, and I go into, this is now increasingly common, like an anime miniatures store.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at like what the big displays are. I'm like, what are the popular things right now? And I see like Demon Slayer, which is a relatively new show. Spy Times Family, relatively new show. Then I see One Piece. And the thought hit me, I'm like, One Piece is more popular than ever. One Piece is ridiculously popular. Luffy has a float in the Macy's Day Parade in New York City. My current favorite Yankee, Jazz Chisholm, he's obsessed with Luffy as well. I think right now at Dodger Stadium, there's going to be a One Piece night.
Wow.
Yeah. And this is for an anime manga series. It's only gotten bigger over the last like 5 years. It's exploded in popularity, which is wild to consider. Considering One Piece was older than Naruto, older than Bleach. It was one of the big three, and Bleach and Naruto, I mean, they still exist, but they're nowhere near what they used to be. It's like, why is One Piece so massively popular? And I can answer you that. The Netflix series. Netflix did it. People had no idea what One Piece was. All of a sudden, boom, everyone wants some One Piece. So you can do this. It is a solvable problem for you to get people into your thing. Sonic the Hedgehog is enormously popular with little tiny children and less tiny children and adults that used to be children because of the film series.
Yep.
So, I think Final Fantasy, as much as it pains me, has to do what I was joking that Bubsy the movie needed to do. I think we need a Final Fantasy movie or Netflix series. I think we have to appeal to the normies.
I just want to say, like, I love that you brought up the anime store example, because that was exactly the kind of thing like I was going to say, you know. So, as someone who, I do not have much of any history with anime, really at all. Right?
Yes, this was a horrifying realization last month, and I'm still shaking in terror.
Yeah. But, you know, my girlfriend is, like, her family love anime, right? Her brothers love anime. You know, so she got me into Attack on Titan. Mm-hmm. So, you know, we're in LA because that's where her family are based. Right, we're in LA. We go to the Little Tokyo and we stop by the anime stores. And me, naively, not knowing much about anime, I'm thinking, well, obviously there's going to be a Final Fantasy thing there, isn't there? Like, it's a big franchise. You know, it's got merchandise everywhere. I can find it on the Square Enix store. Everyone loves it, right? Mm-hmm. And I go there, and I don't find a single, like, there's not a single, like, figure, like, poster, like, any piece of merchandise from Final Fantasy. But there's all sorts of these anime I've never heard of. Like, now you mention it, One Piece is probably one of them. I definitely saw Attack on Titan, right? And the others I didn't really recognize. But I was like, wow, you know, clearly there's a huge market for these sets of anime, right? There's a huge market for them, and they have a big audience. Why doesn't Final Fantasy try and take a piece out of that, right? Because if they're already sort of inclined toward, they're already geared toward these kind of stories, like these kind of media, basically. That seems like a perfect opportunity to market toward that crowd, which is clearly a growing crowd, because, you know, like, gone are the days where, like, anime is seen as, like, some fucking nerd shit, really.
Well, like, I guess it still is, but unfortunately nerd shit literally runs the entire world.
I mean, that's the other way of looking at it, to be fair. Like, that's the other side of the coin, is, like, you know, the nerds have won the culture war. That's the other side of looking at it.
And it was an enormous mistake to let them win.
Maybe it was. But, like,
but actually, you know what? To interrupt you slightly, I was just thinking, like, because you were in like LA's anime store.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's
Yeah,
like
the Little Tokyo.
okay, so like a fairly sizable store, I imagine.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
There's like Little Tokyo has like a bunch of different anime stores in it.
Because I was in Akihabara, Tokyo. Humble
Oh,
brag.
okay.
Yeah. I was looking for something to get for the wedding a couple of years ago, and I'm like, oh, I should go to Akihabara. There's definitely going to be, some cool merch because you could find practically anything there. And yeah, I could not find very much in the way of Final Fantasy things. I went through like 9 different stores until I finally found one shelf with stuff.
Right.
It was harder to find than Godzilla things, which was not terribly popular in Tokyo, weirdly enough, as it turns out. Why? You know what? Why should I be surprised that Godzilla's unpopular in Tokyo, considering how many times he's destroyed that place?
Fair point.
Yeah, truly.
But like these days, you have like Megan Thee Stallion appearing at an anime convention and rapping about it, or like rapping about anime, right? It's clearly not like a completely niche thing anymore. Like whether I'm gonna call it nerdy, it's not niche compared to what it used to be.
Wasn't Megan Thee Stallion on a boat with a wide receiver the other day, and people were really mad about it?
I unfortunately don't know. I don't know much about that.
Okay.
Like, but I do know that she's one of the biggest artists out there at the moment, right? Like easily, and she's a massive fan, right? So it's
okay.
not
Sorry, I was thinking of Cardi B, and it was
Cardi B. Okay.
Yeah, Stefan Diggs was on a boat, taking some pink stuff, and people were very upset.
Right.
Sorry, I interrupted you. It went nowhere, but
No worries. But it's clearly not the niche audience it used to be, and it's clearly a growing audience, right? So I think we should get to the point, if we're to grow the brand again, I think we should get to the point where that's the kind of audience we should be targeting. I should be able to go into an anime store and find, Cloud Strife or find Vivi there, or whichever one they want to market toward, right? Because, I think this is where we can maybe talk about some of the failings of like why we think it's lost its relevance, right? If you look at the games they've been releasing recently, like the new ones, so you got the Final Fantasy VII Remake project, which has done decently well, but it's mostly targeting, it's targeting people either who played the original game or were aware of the original game and wanted to get around to it, and like it's very much targeted toward like a core kind of gaming audience, right? Now you look at 15 and 16, both of those games were clearly trying to be more and more like, I don't know if the word's generic, but they're just clearly targeting it.
I think they were aiming for slightly older audiences without much success. Like 16 was trying to be Game of Thrones like 4 years after all relevancy with Game of Thrones would have mattered.
Yep.
And still not being terribly successful at it, because at its core it was, it's a YA story. Like you can't not be a YA story and make a Final Fantasy game.
Yeah. Yeah, but that.
I'd also say I've been noticing something, and my random Google search has proven me correct. There are plenty of articles about this. It appears that goth is back. I was walking around Philly a few weeks ago, and I'm like, there's a lot. Like, there was a concert, but I'm like, there's a lot of 19-year-olds dressed like people dressed 20 years ago when I was in school. I'm like, why is goth all of a sudden back? And I'm like, goth is back. Like, people dress like it's 2005 in 2025 now. So the thought occurred to me. All right, so Final Fantasy and Nomura and all that style was very much like built for mid 2000s energies, like Kingdom Hearts and all that stuff. if the fashion's back to where it was, there's a solution to this problem. As gross as it is, I think we need to remake Dirge of Cerberus. Because Goth's back. I think nu metal is increasingly back. We could get, I don't know, Limp Bizkit. He can go and release an original song for our Dirge of Cerberus remake. We'll call it Dirge of Cerberus Rebirth. And it'll be in canon with the remake games. And, you know, like, you could take Dirge of Cerberus and probably make a pretty good shooter out of it, as long as you don't have Square Enix make it in-house, because they have no idea how to make a shooter. And, you know, I guess there really aren't that many shooters that get released at all in general at this point, but...
Well, they did try a Final Fantasy shooter. It was the First Soldier. And it was,
you know what?
In my opinion, really poorly conceived idea.
You get Genesis out of there, because I think the guy that plays Genesis is problematic for some reason. Limp Bizkit, you can just go and put him right there. Limp Bizkit can be the new Genesis.
Well, Limp Bizkit already did Shadow the Hedgehog Final Fantasy Origins.
What, did he?
No, not literally Limp Bizkit.
Okay.
But, like, there's that song in it that's blatantly... It's the song where Jack is like, bullshit! And then he plays his phone and...
It's rolling.
Yeah! It's, like, very obviously Limp Bizkit kind of sounding.
Or, you know what? Machine Gun Kelly. We can get him. As horrible as he is.
Yeah. I mean, he's probably got a big enough ego that he'd be like, this game's beneath me is the only problem with that.
I don't know if he has a big ego. I think the guy has a lot of tattoos that he needs to pay for, and they look extremely expensive. Like he
definitely has a big ego.
Okay, all right. I look at Machine Gun Kelly and the choices that he's made musically, and the just shamelessness and complete willingness to humiliate himself. And I would say that's a guy with no ego whatsoever.
Oh, he's definitely willing to humiliate himself. But you don't, like, you know, you don't start random rap beefs with people when you pretend like they've been talking about you this whole time when they don't even think about you. Mm-hmm. Or, like, try and insert yourself into every conversation about white rappers.
Okay.
When none of them even involved you, if you don't have some kind of an ego.
You know, I hear white rappers and I just think, real hip-hop!
Real hip-hop!
Lyrical, spiritual, individual, yeah. Hippin' and hoppin' and swoopin' and poppin'.
If anyone at home hasn't heard of that, you have to look it up. It's politics with a Z, real hip-hop. It's like a parody of all those like YouTube rappers that used to exist back in the day. They probably still exist, but you can't find them anymore.
Well, now they're Machine Gun Kelly and are the biggest artists in the world. By the way, if you that's something that you can listen to and make your day legitimately better. If you want your day to be made legitimately worse, look up Machine Gun Kelly Jelly Roll, Lonely Road, which is
that's a terrible song, isn't it?
Yeah, that's their butchering of John Denver's Country Roads.
Oh, it's a terrible song.
Oh, legitimately one of the worst things I've heard in a long time.
Yeah.
Shocking.
Yeah. So,
this is the guy we need to save Final Fantasy. We need this piece of shit.
I was about to say the exact opposite. I was about to say, if you want to not save Final Fantasy, you know. I mean, then again, Final Fantasy's already tried the celebrity endorsement thing. You know, Ariana Grande is a Final Fantasy character.
She was. I think her game no longer exists is the problem. And
it doesn't exist anymore.
And
so was Katy Perry, I think.
Yeah, but Ariana Grande, she didn't, like, sing any songs. That's what I'm saying is, like, we got to go whole hog. You can't just have a cameo for your mobile game. Like, that crap happens all the time.
And it's funny because, like, when she appeared in that game, like, she wasn't even at her peak yet. Like, she's probably bigger now than back when she featured in it.
After the Wicked movie, yeah, she was actually extremely good in that.
Yeah, I mean that's probably that. This might be her peak right now.
Hmm.
Like, so they got the timing wrong on that, which is a bit unfortunate for them.
Yeah, if they had gotten her to record a song for a major Final Fantasy game and not say Riona Lewis, you know,
Mm,
you know, unfortunately, she did not become the pop star of the future like they thought.
no, that did not happen. I actually think the idea of Ariana making a Final Fantasy song actually isn't a bad idea. Like, how big of an audience would it get you? I don't know. That alone would move that many sales, but I think it would. I think it would definitely raise eyebrows.
Hmm.
But what I'll say, another thing I'll say is, ironically, because they had Florence and the Machine make the song for Final Fantasy 15, and that actually didn't do that badly. Like, I
That's
remember Stand
actually
By
that's a
Me.
very very good version of that song. I listened to that like
That was really good.
yeah, I just turned that on and listened to it. Like that's a song I would put on without any interest in Final Fantasy 15 whatsoever. And in truth,
And it did really well.
I have no interest in Final Fantasy 15. So
No. But ironically, Final Fantasy 15, you know, I hate talking about it because I don't like dissing Final Fantasy games, like just because they work for me.
I have no reason not to. Like I'll say this, like half the fun of being a Final Fantasy fan is just choosing which ones you get to diss.
True. Yeah, I mean that's fair. That's fair enough.
People need to embrace being a hater. It is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And half the time you're
Yeah.
going to do it anyway, so you might as well just accept it. Just always be hating. ABH is my motto. ABH. A always BBH hating.
Yeah, fair enough. But so what I'll say, like with that, with Final Fantasy 15, you know, like there's two sides to this coin really for me. Where the negative side, I'll say like there's a lot of truth to what some people are saying that that game arguably didn't really help the brand long term, right? Because between it and 13, there were, if you look in the whole 2010s decade, weren't many Final Fantasy games that came out, right? The only ones that came out were 13 and 15. 13, which we don't really need to beat the 13 horse to death.
I literally have. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've spent many years of my life being very angry about those games, and it was extremely stupid to do so.
Yeah. A lot of people did not like those games, and there was some hyperbole at the time. I remember it. There were people saying that Japanese RPGs are dead after those games came out. Like, it was, there was a lot of people that really did not like those games. And 15 wasn't really much of a return to form. Like, it wasn't a return to form in terms of how big of an impact it had, because ultimately 15 goes down as a footnote. Look, I hate this in this game because I know there's people that like it, and I'm not trying to diss your game, right? But ultimately it goes down as another entry in the Final Fantasy series, or another entry on in the PS4, as opposed to Final Fantasy 7 was possibly the biggest game on PlayStation 1. Final Fantasy.
I don't know about that, but it was a very very large major release. Yeah,
it's either that or Gran Turismo as the biggest PlayStation game.
I'll look up what the best selling PlayStation games are because I'm legitimately interested. But yeah, Final Fantasy 7 and 8 and 9 were probably the high watermark of the series. No, 10. 10 was probably high watermark of the series.
You can't talk about PlayStation without talking about Final Fantasy 7, Tomb Raider, Metal Gear Solid, Crash Bandicoot.
You know what? I'll
They-
I'll give you this. I'll give you this, Techno. Based on the Wikipedia article I found, which who could say how true any of this shit is. Best-selling game is Gran Turismo at number 1. Number 2,
Yeah.
Final Fantasy 7.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, so
it's
legitimately the second biggest game on that platform. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bigger than Tomb Raider,
PlayStation
bigger
2.
than Resident Evil,
No, PlayStation 2.
bigger
Right.
than Metal Gear Solid.
Just about, I think.
No, bigger.
Like, you can't.
Considerably
Oh,
bigger.
oh yeah, bigger. You can't talk about PlayStation 2 without talking about Final Fantasy X, right? And, you know, I know that both of us agree that Final Fantasy 12 is better. Like, I think Final Fantasy 12 is one of the best games of all time, right? That's not as big as Final Fantasy X was. You know, Final Fantasy X, you can't talk about the PlayStation 2, about the best PlayStation 2 games, without mentioning Final Fantasy X, you know, God of War, you know, Metal Gear Solid 3, and some people say 2 as well, right? You know, Gran Turismo 4, like, you know, GTA, San Andreas. You know, it's up there with the best games on that platform. And right after that, the only Final Fantasy that comes out on PS3 is Final Fantasy 13. And let's just say, like, you know, it was talked about mostly for the wrong reasons. You know, so there's Final Fantasy fans that love that game, and fair play to them. But most of the press that game got was bad press. Final Fantasy 15 didn't get that much press, right?
Well,
it
was Final Fantasy 15 was their last major multimedia push for a big game release. And
that's what I was about to get to.
Unfortunately, they did a couple of mistakes with that, which is that they produced everything in-house, and they just are not good movie makers. They don't have that talent. Yeah. The Final Fantasy 15 movie
or anime makers.
I don't think they made the anime in-house, but the anime was not particularly good either. The OVA.
Okay, yeah.
They don't got that. The Square Enix can do a lot of things. Yep. That's one thing they can't do. The other thing is that they were a little bit ahead of the curve in terms of video game movies being such a big thing. I think, like, what I was trying to say is, like, now, if Square Enix were to make a big Netflix deal, and let's get the I don't even know what would be a good Final Fantasy Netflix series.
As in, which Final Fantasy would be best to base a Netflix series on?
Yes. We're gonna do live action. We're gonna do Last of Us or whatever the hell, or One Piece. We're going all in on this. What's our live action Final Fantasy adaptation?
Oh, we're doing live action. Okay. Yeah. Well, that changes things, because my suggestion.
You were gonna say cartoon.
Final Fantasy 9. What's
9,
that?
Yeah. 9 in live action would be really bad. Or it would be a big gamble, because One Piece in live action, as much as it doesn't appeal to me on any level, actually worked extremely well. I cannot deny that.
Yeah.
Maybe Final Fantasy X, I think is your best bet here.
10 would be brilliant for live action.
Because 10, you already have a fish out of water story. I think a lot of the art design, they've already kind of done the work of making real people do Final Fantasy X costumes. They did the play.
Yeah, true.
There was a Japanese stage production of Final Fantasy X. Yeah, so
and it's another one of those stories that will be talked about.
It has a universal story of. It's like boy meets girl, boy turns out to be a dream and must sacrifice himself and is the chosen one, and also your dad is a whale. These are all things that they, like, unironically, as much as I put it badly that way, these are all general easy ways to, or like easy sells to a mass audience. It's not that weird. There's nothing that baroque in it, at least until it turns out to be a dream. I guess that's a lot to sell.
Well, I have another anecdote on this. Right?
Which is
which is that I'm trying to get my girlfriend into Final Fantasy because I love these games, and we're thinking about which one do we want to start with. And I guess we decided the easiest one to start with was Final Fantasy X. Because I didn't want to jump her straight into the 7 remake series without having played the original, but also don't want to jump her into the original. This is someone who doesn't play video games. Like,
yeah, seven is a pretty tough sell to somebody in 2025, the original 7.
Right, exactly. So we jumped in with Final Fantasy X because to me it made the most sense. It's got voice acting in it. It's got, in my opinion, a really beautiful story, if an imperfect one. It's got a really interesting setting. And again, remind you, this is someone who really loved Attack on Titan. So she's used to the whole idea of the story is extremely confusing to start with, but then over time really makes sense. And when you get to the end of it, you're like, oh, that's actually really well thought out.
Yeah, what was in that damn basement? We'll find out in 20 years. I still don't know.
Yeah. So it did seem like a perfect fit, and thus far she's not hating it, but thus far she finds it very confusing. She described it as, quote, my confusing videojuego. She's Mexican.
Okay.
But yeah, so she calls it my confusing videojuego because she's basically every scene she's like, wait, so is he sucked into the world from the giant monster? Wait, who's this character?
I guess the first few hours where you wake up, all right, you're in Xanarkand, then you wake up and you're in that temple with Riku.
Yeah.
Then you wake up again. Excuse me. You wake up again and now you're on Besaid. That's a little weird, that whole sequence. And you're like, wait, was that a dream, the whole Riku thing? Was Xanarkand a dream? Turns out, yes.
Yep. Yeah, so she's really confused by it for the most part. And she was obviously asking all the basic questions, which are oh, so Final Fantasy X isn't connected to all the other ones? I'm like, no. And you're like, well, why is it called Final Fantasy X? I'm
That's a great question.
Because it's the 10th Final Fantasy game.
Well, that's not true. It was the 15th even then.
Well, yeah. But 10th mainline one, whatever, right? There's some discourse around people saying well, maybe they should drop the number for the next one. I personally don't. No,
you've committed it. You've committed too far at this point. We have to. It has to be Final Fantasy 17.
Exactly. I completely agree with
maybe you got to give up when you hit Final Fantasy 20 and it's just 2 X's. Maybe that's where you finally give up and you have to go to subtitles. You almost certainly have to give up when you hit Final Fantasy 30.
Yeah, for
that's a tough sell at that point.
Reason. That one's gonna be, that'll be interesting.
You know what's funny? A weird anecdote on Roman numerals. You know how the Super Bowl is always Roman numerals?
Yeah.
Okay, so they've been consistent with this for all 59 or whatever there've been, except for Super Bowl 50. Which they wrote out as 50 because otherwise it looks like Super Bowl L, which is L for loser.
Whoever won that would have been the holder of the Super Bowl L.
Yep.
As in they would have lost.
Yep. Let me see who won that one. Super Bowl 50 was... that was at Levi Stadium. The Denver Broncos defeated the Carolina Panthers. That was a great night.
Oh. Wait, when was that? That was
almost an entire decade ago, yeah.
Wow, I didn't realize how recently the Broncos had still won one.
I mean, you say recently, it was a decade ago. It's been a hard 10 years to be a Broncos fan.
Recently compared to my team.
Yes, the Texans. Cowboys. Cowboys have not won since the 90s.
Fucking years since they've won jack shit.
Yeah, they're going to be bad next year, too, by the way. So get ready for that.
They're going to be terrible next year.
Oh, Broncos play the Cowboys.
They're going to be terrible until they get rid of Jerry. What's that, sorry?
They're not going to get rid of him. They're waiting for him to die. Broncos Cowboys next year, by the way. This fall. October 26th.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's just before my birthday. Yeah, let's look into that.
I can't really look into any sort of thing like that because I might be going to London for Broncos Jets.
Oh, okay. Yeah, is that Wembley or Tottenham Stadium?
I don't know.
Hmm.
I'll let you know right now. Broncos Jets. It will be at Tottenham Hotspurs. The Tottenham Hotspurs Stadium. Do they say it without the H?
Funny.
The Hotspurs?
Most of the time they call them Spurs.
The Spurs? Okay.
I call them Tottenham because I don't like to get them mixed up with the basketball team, which is also called the San Antonio Spurs.
I don't think that's a problem for most English people, but yeah.
No, it's not. It's not.
Could I call them the Ham Spurs?
Yeah. A lot of people call them Topspur.
Topspurs?
Topspur, yeah.
Topspur. All right.
Because of like this one meme video that came out from someone who like didn't know anything. It was some like Asian guy who'd never heard of him. He's like, who? Topspur? But anyway.
Final Fantasy. We should wrap this up because we're hitting our 90 minute, and I gotta get this. So, we are recording this the night of, and I gotta get this done before midnight.
Yeah. So I think, the moral of my like anecdote story is basically, look, like the last time I've really come across, hardcore Final Fantasy fans like myself was when we were at the anime convention together, me and my girlfriend were, and we came across so many different cosplayers. There was a Tidus and Yuna one. There were countless Tifas, countless Clouds, countless Aeriths, right? So there's still, and at work, there's quite a few fans of the game, but they're all like, 30s, 50s, 40s.
Come on, we're not that old.
I meant 40s. Yeah, okay, they're all like in their 40s, 30s. And generally speaking, like coming through, like I think it's completely fair to say it just doesn't have the cultural relevance it did. But there's, the way I look at it, and the way I would like, if I were at Square Enix headquarters right now and they were saying, look, okay, so Final Fantasy 16 didn't do what we needed it to do. Final Fantasy 15 didn't quite do what we needed it to do. Because remember, like, 15 still had a big launch. It still was really, it was a really well-selling game. But if you look at the people who made that their first Final Fantasy, they generally didn't come away with the impression of, oh, I need to play all the others, kind of thing, right? It wasn't a game that makes you think, oh wow, where has this been my whole life, right? Which, remember, again, Final Fantasy VII was possibly the biggest game on the PlayStation 1, right? And Final Fantasy X,
second biggest.
One of the
We've
biggest
established
games.
this.
Second biggest game of the PlayStation 1. Final Fantasy X, one of the biggest games of the PlayStation 2, right? And, at this point, those are old consoles. Those are old audiences. But there is a possibility, there is a way to reach a new audience. Blue hinted at it, which is, a new movie series, a new Netflix show.
Dirt to Cerberus remake.
Oh, fucking Cerberus remake.
I am not kidding, by the way.
Something like that. And to me, the way I'd look at it, I'd say, there's clearly a growing crowd of people who are big fans of anime, big fans of things like Pokemon, big fans of all sorts of Japanese media, right? There's a growing audience out there, and there's a market opportunity. But as it stands, Square Enix has really been angling toward the more kind of mature, like Western audiences for those sorts of video games. It's like if you look at it, they're more angling toward the kind of person that would buy God of War. And are they doing it all that successfully? I think the numbers show not quite. Right, not quite, you know. As much as I love the Final Fantasy VII Remake series, so as far as video games go, I'd say you're right on the right track there. But what I would do is, I would, instead of trying to chase the people that buy God of War, the people that buy Witcher, I would start looking at, you know, being true to what your own identity is as a Japanese video game developer. And I would start marketing toward the kind of audience that are going out there and listening to Megan Thee Stallion songs about anime and watching One Piece or watching Attack on Titan or collecting Pokemon on Pokemon Go, right? I'd look toward that kind of audience, and I really think there's an opportunity there because it's a growing market. And
okay, so what should Square Enix do in a nutshell?
In a nutshell, Square Enix should make Final Fantasy 17 with a tie-in Netflix series, a tie-in Netflix anime series that leads into the game. Or just do that about Final Fantasy 9.
And you know what? I think considering how the fashion has once again shifted back to 2005, they might have to make a turn-based game.
Yeah, they could do turn-based again. You know, like turn-based was, you know, turn-based is sort of making a comeback with Expedition 33. That's what it's called.
Yeah.
So it's making a comeback of sorts.
I'm not sure.
So
Honestly, the one thing I find very annoying about that game is I'm not sure if I'm supposed to call it Claire Obscure or am I supposed to call it Expedition 33? Which is the more important part of the title?
Well, whichever part of the title is more important. You know, that shows, and, you know, I mean, Persona 5 wasn't too shabby in terms of sales, but that shows, you know, you could target that kind of market. And
Metaphor ReFantazio, I think we discussed, basically beat Final Fantasy VII Rebirth last year.
Yeah, that too. Like, you know, I would gun for that market, right? Rather than try and cannibalize a market that, you know, they haven't had a huge amount of success really going for. I'd go for this different market. And by the way, you can make it turn-based. I personally think that what they did with the 7 Remake combat system was spot on. But if they don't want to do that, we could see another active time battle game or a pure turn-based game or whatever it is. But I would basically just go right back to your roots. You know, make the modern day Final Fantasy 9. Make a tie-in Netflix series, and I'd, you know, partner with someone who actually knows what they're doing in terms of like writing and doing anime, basically, right? Do another multimedia push like what you did with 15, because it worked to a point, all right? It worked in terms of the sales. It's just the product they got from it, you know, could have been better, right?
Also, they should add Machine Gun Kelly, but I want to be able to fight him. And
yeah, they should have a fightable Machine Gun Kelly.
Yes, we need to be able to kill Machine Gun Kelly in a video game.
Yes,
I mean, of course.
Yeah, I think a lot of people would sign up for that.
Yes.
While you're at it, they should let you kill the Paul brothers as well.
No, actually, I don't want the Paul brothers involved on any level.
I don't want the Paul brothers involved, but if they are to be involved, I have to be able to kill them.
They're not. They are not going to be involved. I think we can draw the line. That's probably the
safer bet.
All right.
That is probably the safer bet.
Yeah. So anyway, we've now solved Final Fantasy. We previously this year we made Final Fantasy 17. This year we have now made it relevant for the youths again. We
missed a key piece of the puzzle, which is the theme song for the game will be sung by Ariana Grande.
Okay. Yes, I forgot about her. That are doing Ariana Grande, or are we doing Kesha? What the hell was her name? God, the one you were just talking about. Cardi B?
Katy Perry?
No.
Megan Thee Stallion?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be Ariana Grande featuring Megan Thee Stallion.
Okay.
Let's just do both.
Can we get Chappell Roan? I actually like Chappell Roan.
Or her.
All right.
That would kind of fit the vibe.
You know, next month is Pride Month. We can get Chappell Roan, and there we are. We're a pro-Pride podcast now.
Great.
Anyway, now that we've solved all the world's problems, we can go and wrap things up. This is the Final Fantasy Wiki Podcast. It is a podcast about Final Fantasy and sometimes the Wiki, and sometimes our ex-employer, Fandom.com.
Yeah.
So I am your producer and your host, BlueHighwind. Technobliterator is here, and during the course of this podcast, he's become a real boy and is no longer a creature that lives in the sewer and eats children. Congratulations.
Yep.
This podcast music is La Montaña de los Jovenes Caballeros, which is on the OC Balance and Ruin. OC Remix Balance and Ruin soundtrack. It is Mount Koltz from Final Fantasy VI, but made to sound very Spanish. And that's it. That's the whole story. I am going to start mixing this podcast and releasing it as quickly as I can, so that way I can go to sleep. Good night.